and welcome to another episode of the Grunge Bible Podcast. This is episode 166, where we have burning questions to ask. And Chris,
to answer.
Yeah, we need your answers. And mine, but mostly yours. So should we do this? You want to ride it?
Yeah, let's roll it. We might as well. This is episode 166. This will be the final episode of May 2024, coming out on May 27th, Memorial Day here in the United States. And Ethan, the first question of this Q&A episode is the easy one. How are you today?
Easy sometimes. Today, yeah, it's pretty easy. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. It's been a solid month. May is almost done, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Big month of June coming up, a lot of important dates. So yeah, I'm doing really well. I'm excited for a Saturday. Got a kind of busy Saturday, not really, but first things first, got to record a podcast. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Yeah, May has flown by, and I feel like I'm going to blink my eyes and it's going to be September. I feel like that's just the way that the summer goes. But yeah, it's funny. So we are recording on Saturday, May 25th, and I feel like the last few weeks, generally we touch base about the podcast on like Monday or Tuesday, and it's like, oh, we have to record for next Monday. Like, when do you want to do it? And we get the topic. But the last like 2 or 3 weeks, we've kind of pushed it later and later, and like we'll chat on Thursday, and it's just like we have something that we need to talk about, but it's not for today. So we finally decided, what we were going to do yesterday on Friday. Today's Saturday. It'll come out Monday. But I'm good. It's been a hectic month, I think, as well, for me, but I'm excited. We've got the long weekend here. I have some activities going on, and just going to try to take it easy and just kind of enter back into a routine a little bit. I'm looking forward to like some weeks ahead that aren't as busy. I know I can say that, not necessarily. You can't really say that because you're about to be really busy, but I'm good. I've got my coffee here. It's a nice Saturday morning. So
yeah, statistically speaking, we probably talked the least this month on the phone than I think we have in a long time. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, like it was like we pushed back. Because we saw each other this month, believe it or not. That was within the month. Yeah. But after that, we've just been both kind of busy, and you had plans, and we just kind of pushed off talking about the pod, and all of a sudden, a few times a week, that's it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like this is. If you're ever afraid of falling out of touch with your friends, just start a podcast that you're not allowed to finish, because this is the fail safe. Like, we were pretty busy with different things in our own lives the last couple of weeks, but come hell or high water, we've got to sit down and do this once a week. So it's good, and I enjoy this time, and I enjoy that this. Today we'll just kind of be cutting it up, doing a Q&A with all the questions that we asked or solicited over on the Instagram page. So this is a good time to spend here together.
Yes, and I think this is a good time to say thank you to everybody that is listening to the podcast. You guys make this thing, worthwhile, because if we didn't have listeners, we wouldn't do it.
Why would we be here?
Yeah, so thank you, everybody. We do have a way to support financially, and that is through our Patreon. We have 3 levels, a 2, a 5, and a 10. And I just want to shout out all the Patreon supporters that we have. Thousands of them. There's just so many. There's so many. It's hard to really thank everybody.
Yeah.
But there's always room for one more. So please consider checking that out, and just be a doer, be a giver.
Absolutely.
And we'll keep giving you content, because, we get a lot of good responses. People do check in, and I say it a lot, but I have my podcasts that when they come out, like I listen to them immediately, and you feel comfort in the
for them.
You feel comfort in the voices on the airwaves. And I think we've been feeling really connected to broadcasting and sports talk and just people on the waves, the airwaves. It's an important thing.
Yeah, it really is. And just to kind of take everybody inside the minds of Chris Salona and Ethan Shalloway, if you've been listening to this podcast for any number of weeks, you know very well and good that we like creating lore around things that really have nothing to do with us or don't really have that big of an impact. And a few years ago, we fell in love with the movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And then we visited LA together, and that kind of rekindled that love of that movie. I think we watched it afterwards, and periodically we'll make references to it. So last night, for some reason, you sent me a Snapchat memory of, I think it was from the first time that you watched the movie, and it's the scene at the beginning where Cliff Booth's Cliff Booth is backing out of Rick Dalton's residence, and there's just that absurd mural of Leonardo DiCaprio's character, Rick Dalton, in front of him, and it was the great reveal. And that sent me last night, because I had just gotten home from a night out with my friends, and I was a little inebriated, and I went down a rabbit hole once again last night about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I posted a picture from the movie on Grunge Bible, and then this morning I decided I wanted to wake up and, kind of keep that train rolling with like the 60s LA vibes. So in the movie, they constantly sample like radio broadcasts from 93 KHJ in Los Angeles with the real Don Steele, who was just an absolute stallion of a disc jockey back then. He had a lot of moxie, as we talked about earlier. And I clicked on the one that they pulled a lot of the material from for the movie, was this one afternoon drive time slot from 1968, and it was 3 hours, 3 to 6, whatever, as you do. And come to find out, as I was very excited to share with you, Ethan, and I'm excited to share with everybody else, the afternoon drive slot, the particular day that they pulled all of the movie, the audio from that included in the movie, was 56 years ago today as we record this podcast. It was May 25th, 1968. So from that day in May 1968 to May 25th, 2024, it's just very serendipitous. And I'm going to stick around this whole 60s, the real Don Steele thing for a little bit, certainly today and probably all Memorial Day weekend. It's
one of those unexplainable coincidences that is just so important to the lore of us. the fact that it was the exact day, Saturday, and it both were
Saturdays.
A Saturday,
yeah. In 68 it was a Saturday, and it's a Saturday this year today. It just makes sense.
It makes so much sense, and I'm excited to listen to it. I got a little bit into it, and I was like, I need to be in the car, I need to be outside, and I'm 100% going to be doing that later. Yeah. And like I said, it's just so important. There's something unexplainable, unexplainable joy to have these things line up.
Yeah,
we've had a lot of these things over the years where just coincidence. Like, are there any real coincidences in life, or is it all just prophecy? Why was it today? Oh man, I love it.
Yeah, man. So
there's tough questions.
They are tough questions, and we've got some tough questions. But before we get into the questions that everybody has asked of us, I also want to shout out that we have some merch, and that is also linked in the show notes. And a nice little tie-in to the merchandise and to the Patreon. We received a Patreon message from What the Fuck's Up Denny's, and it reads, "I get a lot of intrigue when I wear my Grunge Bible shirt. The flight attendant on my flight to LAX yesterday thought it was a new religion or something due to the word Bible. Maybe it should be. It would be no more far-fetched than the rest of the religions of the world, LOL." So that you've got a tie-in with multiple things there. You've got merch, you've got Patreon, you've got lore, and you've got LA. So that's just a full circle moment. So thank you to our good friend What the Fuck Is Up Denny's for sending that in, for purchasing merch, for supporting us on Patreon, and for also being one of the driving forces behind us getting together with Mixed Up Everything a few weeks ago. That was super, super awesome, and I hope you enjoyed it in particular, my friend, but I hope everybody enjoyed that interview. So nevertheless, we've got merch, we've got a Patreon, and somehow it's always all connected.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it really is. Yeah, he's a real one. He always gives us great comments and reviews. Okay. Anything you want to say before we get into the questions?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think it's time.
I think we should get into them.
So I think one of the first ones that we should address is, what about a Sandy Cohen mixtape? So more lore here. And we were just reminiscing before we started recording how special the time, I guess it was 3 months ago, that we spent watching the OC and watching it back, and how the comfort that we felt in rewatching an old show and falling in love with the characters. Most importantly, Peter Gallagher, who plays the father, Sandy Cohen, and
hottest lawyer on the West Coast.
Just incredible moxie and ability to use discernment and decisions. And yeah, we need more Peter Gallagher in our life. Like, I don't think we can take in enough media from him and the podcast and the different stuff that he's been on. So I think that we need, there needs to be a highlight tape or something.
Yeah, we're gonna have to make
There's probably is a highlight tape out there, obviously.
And if not, I'll make one. Like, I will spend my afternoon today inside making a Sandy Cohen mixtape.
What song will be playing in the background for that?
I think it would have to be that cover that he did when he sang at Kirsten's birthday party. And just with little overlays where the music cuts out and it's a Sandy Cohen quote. He's like, "You've got to have a plan."
Yeah.
Just make it super emotional. I think that would be a really good one there. So
yeah, it would definitely be all of his quotes, him talking, giving good life lessons overlaying him singing, or, another song that gets you emotional, and there'd be a climax. It'd be a great 3-4 minute clip.
Yeah, absolutely. Next question I have, Ethan Shalloway, is what guitar tone is your favorite from any grunge album?
What guitar tone?
I feel like Jerry obviously had a lot of really distinct tones. Stone, for sure, with Pearl Jam. But if I could just jump out ahead of it, I would definitely say Kim Thayil from Bad Motorfinger.
Yeah.
That's got some of my favorite guitar tones ever.
Yeah, Kim. I mean, yeah, Soundgarden definitely has that guitar. Always sticks out. Which I think, I feel like Nirvana, obviously, their guitar work is very unique, and from all the albums. And yeah, I'd probably say one of those two. I mean, obviously, you got McCready laying it down really solid, but probably go a little more extravagant. And definitely Kim or Nirvana.
It's always interesting too, because you've got kind of two different perspectives to look at it. It's like, is the tone more important than the riff, or is the riff more important than the tone? Because I think there's a lot of artists and there's certain songs where your first thought is the riff, but then there's other times where you're just drawn to the way that the guitar sounds. And obviously the best songs are the perfect marriage of the two. But it's always fascinating to think about. It's you've got some people where it's they just always talk about how great their tone is, but then there's they're riff lords. But obviously, the best can do both, and they do both. One other grunge question that kind of ties into my answer to the last one is, if you could only listen to one grunge song for the rest of your life, which one would you choose?
One grunge song. This is a tough one.
Yeah.
I would have to say, man, this is tough. I think I'd have to go Soundgarden. I don't know. I might say Man in the Box.
Okay. Yeah.
I think I was listening to in the gym the other day, and Man in the Box it really does offer a lot every time you listen to it, and it hasn't been overplayed or gotten old for me in a way, which is surprising. I'll go with Man in the Box.
That's awesome. I think I would pick Searching with My Good Eye Closed by Soundgarden. Pretty standard pick for me, but I really don't think I would ever get tired of that song. So that'd be my choice.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so this is a question I guess we get a lot, or people always ask about new grunge, post-grunge. Is grunge dead? So the question is grunge dead nowadays, Chris? It's a hard question.
It's totally dead. As somebody else asked, is it possible to write grunge in 2024? It's not.
Yeah. I think that everybody out there should understand that just because something's really good doesn't mean it needs to last forever and needs to be omnipresent. I mean, grunge, time and place. We talk about this all the time. Time, place, people are older now. They moved into a different stage and they're playing the music. I mean, it's the same people, but they're playing different genres of music in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the same. And like, let's just be happy that there was a stretch of 8 years that we can call grunge and be really satisfied with. But like it's not new grunge. Like that's such a terrible term. Like new grunge.
It's just rock and roll. Like that's just what it is.
Yeah, new grunge is really it really grinds our gears, I think, when we hear that term.
It really pisses us off every time somebody messages us, be like, hey, me and my band are making a new grunge album. We're really influenced and we sound like a combination of XYZ grunge bands. You can't make new grunge because it's well, first of all, I will never understand. I mean, even like the big four, they don't sound anything like one another, but apparently they are like in one genre. Like I've never understood the viewpoint that like grunge is a genre. And like the more time I spend in like the grunge world on Instagram and everything, the less I understand the fact that they were ever grouped together, because they don't sound anything like one another. Like there's no other universe where Nirvana and Soundgarden would be in the same genre categorization.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show you it's not a genre. It was just a time and a place, and it was a term used to describe that time and place and to sell more records.
It's like having a new medieval time period or a new, Western or Renaissance.
It's like a new Wild West.
Yeah.
Well, you can't do it.
It's been done.
Yeah.
So let's just stop it. Let's just stop all the new grunge and let's just be, can grunge be written in 2024? No,
it can't. So stop trying to do it. That being said, though, like continue to be inspired by this stuff, but just let that take you like right in a way that that honors the things you're inspired by. But don't call it grunge, because it's not grunge. I'm glad we periodically have to have that conversation, so we can check that one off, because I think that was the first time we talked about that this year. So we did that. Ethan, 2 questions that I presume that are definitely directed to you, not to me. Twofold. Is Ethan competing in the USA Olympic track and field trials? And secondly, what is it like competing at Hayward Field? Historic Hayward Field.
Yes. I saw this question, I think, from the same person.
Yeah.
I am qualified for the Olympic trials June 21st at Historic Hayward Field, and which is exciting. Really good. The season, I haven't really competed much this season due to some injuries and whatnot, so I'm ready to get the season rolling. And competing at Hayward is a lot of fun, especially at the national championship each year, because everybody is there in the track and field world in the U.S. Everybody's competing at a really high level. You get to see dreams be made. You get to see dreams fail. Like you get to see people, you get both sides of sports, the good and the bad. For me, I've always had a difficult time at Hayward. Last year was my best finish so I felt good coming out of it, but it's always been difficult. So this year, like I said, last year was really solid, so I don't feel like that'll be an issue, and I'm just older in my career. But it is tough. It's always tough to compete at the highest stage and be completely confident and not lying to yourself a little bit that you have some doubt. And so we work on that every day and just try to be in the best position to compete really well. So yeah, it's pretty awesome though. I mean, it's become normal for sure. Like you normalize this type of stuff. So like I'm just going, I'm going to compete at Hayward again this year. Like they have it every year. But it is special because correct me if I'm wrong. Did you ever make it out for a meet at Hayward?
No. I certainly never qualified for a meet there, and I've never spectated.
I didn't know if because they have some other meets and stuff. I never know if you went. I know you went to Stanford and stuff.
Yeah, we never made it out there. And just as a fan, I mean, as you know, having to get out there yourself to compete, it's fucking impossibly expensive to go out there. So I've picked my battles. Do you prefer new or old Hayward Field? Because you competed in college, you competed at NCAA's when it was pre-renovation, right?
Yeah. Naturally, we're going to be nostalgic and always love the old stuff. And they added a bunch of, obviously, grandstands, and they kind of messed with the wind at Hayward and made it, I don't know if it made it like harder to throw. It makes it a little swirly. Maybe it helped a little bit, but it's been kind of weird. So maybe the old runway was a little bit easier to kind of have success. And and the new one, with the new, all the tape and stuff, it makes it tough to move around. They always got way too much. They're trying to make it too big of an event every time. It's like, just let the athletes in to watch. Don't make it so difficult.
Yeah, so I agree. I just like all of those things. I feel like track and field habitually at every single level consistently just gets those things wrong in terms of meet administration, meet scheduling, access to watching it, televising it, sharing it. Like, it's just, I just wish that a lot of those things were just informed by the thoughts and opinions of the athletes themselves, because that would just be the most logical. Like, let them watch, like make it like easily accessible. It's not like you don't have to lock it down like Fort Knox. Grow the sport, let people watch it and experience it.
In 2021 at the trials, so the way that it was set up, you have 2 flights, prelims on the first day, and then you come back in 2 days for the final. And I competed in the first flight, and I threw, and I didn't throw very well. And I went out, and this is during the COVID restrictions and all this stuff. So there was a little bit more security, and they sold tickets. They didn't sell day tickets. They sold AM session and PM session for different events, which is, BS, because that's just assuming that there's going to be more people than there probably is. And
right.
So anyway, I finished. I was pissed off because I didn't throw well, and I didn't know if I was going to make it. My parents were up there in the stands watching. So I had just finished competing. I went to the call tent or whatever, and I'm walking back, and I'm walking up the stairs, and the lady's like, you can't go up there. Do you have a ticket? And I was like, I just competed. And she was like, you're not allowed to go up there. And I was like, I'm going up there. And my mom they also had to buy tickets in groups of 4 for COVID. So my parents had to buy 4 tickets for 2 of them because you had to do it. So my mom is up there, and I'm like, I'm going up there. And the lady's like, you're not allowed. And she grabbed me, and I was like, don't touch me. I was like, I was like, you can't. I was like, I just competed. I was like, I may be in the final. I was like, I'm going up there. And she's like, I'm walking with you. I was like, I don't care. You can come sit with me in the stands.
Come hang out with my parents. Sit with me in the
stands. I was like, you guys aren't throwing me out. There's nothing. And my mom, she had an extra ticket, and I was like, don't even scan that. And she was trying to diffuse the situation and pull up the tickets. And I was like, don't even show her. Don't even give her the, whatever. And I was so mad. I was like, I can't believe that. I was like, we wouldn't even have this event if it wasn't for the athletes, and you guys are trying to keep us out.
Yeah.
I was so heated, obviously, because I didn't know if I was going to make the final. I was the last one in to make the final day, which was great.
I remember that.
But I was ready to be, I was ready to go to jail that day. I was ready to fight.
This aggression will not stand.
I wasn't wrong. There, you know what I mean? I was like, I'm good. I was like, you guys are being crazy. Yeah, exactly. Oh man, I'm getting hot thinking about it.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I hate and that stuff invariably happens all the time with track and field meets. It's like the athletes, like you said, without the athletes, there is no, there's no ticket sales, there's no public spectacle. Frankly, if you compete like any other sport, it would be a welcome thing for an athlete to go into the stands or something. It'd be cool and accessible and fun. But no, you're not allowed without a ticket. You imagine expecting an athlete to pay to compete there and then also pay to fucking watch. It's absurd.
Yeah. Not gonna happen.
That's fucked. So yeah, I'm upset about that now too. We need to segue into something else, or else we're just gonna rail against everything for a while.
Which I'm fine.
Yeah, exactly. That's for the Patreon, just us airing our grievances. This is a really good question, and I think one of the better philosophical questions we've gotten as it relates to music. One of the better questions we've gotten in a while. The question is, does longevity equate to greatness? Example, Pearl Jam versus Alice in Chains or Nirvana. That's a really interesting question because I personally think it can kind of cut both ways. longevity like is a testament to bands' greatness, but then also, you know, you have bands that don't have the gift of longevity and didn't have that, but they're equally as great, but it kind of adds to their mystique and their greatness because they weren't around as long. But what are your thoughts on that?
My first initial reaction would be, you know, Pearl Jam's longevity probably doesn't have any, you know, any kind of reason to why they're great. I mean, they were great in their first 10 years. If they would have stopped, they would have been great. But because they were great, they were able to have a longer career. So you got to think about like somebody that maybe they're not as big, but they do play for 30 years. Like, does that make them great? Because yeah, Pearl Jam, like what they're doing now, I mean, it's all like icing on the cake, basically.
Yeah.
So I think that, yeah, I don't think longevity is just because you're in the sport for a long time doesn't mean you're going to go to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
it does help the stats, but like, you know, it's more about moments that happen during the time. So if you can take advantage of you know, your prime and your moments, then that's going to be more important than being able to do it for a really long time.
Yeah.
Even though, like, you know, we can be really happy. I'm trying to think like maybe, you know, the new metal, like I guess they're having a resurgence and, or, you know, all those the Creed and the Nickelback. So is this helping their legacy? You know, because I think that would be a better comparison than the grunge bands, because I think they were all pretty set in stone after their run in the 90s.
Yeah, and it seems like there's no one true path to longevity, because at the same time where greatness or talent or success can open up the opportunity for longevity, there's also, like you said, like if there's an opportune moment and like you do something with it, that can also afford you know, you the opportunity to have longevity. So it's interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, better question would be, does longevity affect your success? Like, you know, bands that just go too long and just should be done. Like,
yeah, well, it's the same thing as like going out on top, that type thing, where it's like if you hang on too long, you know, maybe people don't feel the same way.
I've heard some people talk about the Pearl Jam show at the Forum, and someone had seen them like 45 times and said that this was like a top 5 show, and they're still like some of the best they've ever been. So that's really awesome to hear. And I think that we kind of knew that they're in a special age of performance, and they still kind of bringing it every night. So that's really encouraging, that if you haven't seen Pearl Jam, it's still a really good time to go and see them. You haven't missed out on, I mean, you missed out on the 90s, but like you haven't missed out on them completely. So go and see them.
Yeah, I would totally agree. And it's also in relation to just like lasting for a long time. Does that mean you're great? Like I was watching, I forget who it was, but I was watching an interview with a comedian. I, for the life of me, can't remember who it was. And they were saying, yeah, like you can go on and do like a 45-minute set and you leave everybody wanting a little bit more and you cut it. And they're like, oh yeah, that was great. But then if you extend it like 15, 20 more minutes, to like an hour and 5 minutes, then, you know, the material is still the same and they still felt that way at 45 minutes in. But then at the end, they're like, oh, you know, I thought he was never going to leave the stage, and it just kind of got old a little bit. So it's like kind of the timing of it is important as well.
It's like this podcast, Chris. How long are we going to go?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe we should close up right now.
We go out on top with episode 166.
This is a good question. What is the most, I guess it should be who is the most grunge NHL hockey team? And I'll leave it at that. It says, you know, and why is it the Bruins? But I don't know if the Bruins are the most grunge. So
I think the Bruins have some grungy players. I wouldn't necessarily say that they're the grungiest team. Well, it all depends on what you would perceive grunge to be. If it's just like dirty, grimy. The Kraken, I mean, because Seattle obviously, right. And I think Ed is a supporter of them, for example. But honestly, this really pains me to say it.
Red Wings?
Like a grungy, as their roster currently stands, like the Florida Panthers, unfortunately, are pretty grungy, slimy, and dirty. You know,
I was gonna say that the team that is not grunge is the Panthers because they're from Miami. They're the most southern hockey team.
If we're talking about that type of thing, then obviously it's not them. But some of the guys on the roster, I mean,
a little slippery.
Yeah, I mean they're very grungy. Yeah, maybe Detroit. They seem pretty grunge. The Blackhawks, not really a whole lot. Yeah, maybe.
I was thinking, the Canada teams have got to be
Calgary. Like, what are you doing out there?
Yeah, Calgary and I mean, I think I'm rooting for Edmonton right now to finish it off. Not Dallas. Dallas is that's not very,
I'm hoping. Grunge. I would hate a Dallas Florida final. It just really doesn't.
Like the two most southern teams.
Yeah, well, that was last year was Vegas and Florida, and I mean that's not. I mean the teams were great, but just legacies and environments where they come from. Edmonton, New York would be pretty cool. Two teams with a lot of historic pedigree, and I'll certainly be watching. I think New York just tied it up last night, so it's 1-1, and then Game 2 of Dallas and Edmonton is tonight, I think. So we'll be looking forward to that.
I'm a sucker for sports runs in big cities for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just everything kind of stops.
I mean, our Knickerbockers, they.
Oh man.
Now we got to talk about them. I mean,
what do you think, Dick?
What a run for our Knickerbockers. It reminded me of all the Bernard King days when Jalen Brunson was killing it, and I mean, what a run for the city. We were just dead by the end of it. We were absolutely dismantled as a team. Didn't have any of our players out there, and but great for the city, great for MSG. You love when, I heard you have those walking cities like Boston, New York, when there's a big game, people are out and they're wearing their costumes,
Absolutely. Yeah. And they just came up just a little short and, it's unfortunate, but what are you going to do, huh?
Mm-hmm. All right. Next, moving on from sports, even though I could talk about sports. Definitely can't wait to watch some playoffs tonight.
Oh yeah, they don't call you playoff for nothing.
Oh yeah. Someone asked, "What's the most grunge sport?"
I feel like we've answered that before.
Yeah. Do you remember the answer?
Hockey's pretty grungy, I would say.
Hockey is definitely a way up there.
Yeah.
I don't know if javelin's all that grungy, but
yeah, I don't know. It's can't comment on that. You have a question there, my friend.
Yeah, I'll say this one says, "What is the best guitar combination in grunge?"
And is that a interplay of rhythm and lead guitar, or?
Yeah, I think what's the best duo?
Okay, it's hard to not say Stone and Mike.
The brothers meet.
The brothers meet. I mean, that they're definitely up there. Honestly. This goes back to something that I said earlier in a recurring theme on the show, that I think people really overlook Chris Cornell's talent as a guitarist. And I think, the duo of him and Kim Thayil and what they were able to do, really, really impressive, because I think, I can't imagine it was easy for Chris to sound like he sounded and to sing those parts live. And also a lot of his guitar parts were really challenging. And to be able to do that live while singing, has always been really, really mind-boggling to me. So I'd say Kim and Chris.
Yeah, that's a good one. Probably not talked about enough. Yeah, Pat Smear and Kurt Cobain.
I mean, Pat Smear was in Nirvana. People forget.
Got the DeLeo brothers.
Yeah, well, yeah, bass. I mean, they never. Bass and yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah,
perhaps them.
Yeah, probably. I mean, Pearl Jam. They got a really strong duo, obviously.
Yeah, and then Ed hops in there from time to time as well. And now they've got Josh Klinghoffer on tour as a touring member. There was one question that kind of relates to this. I don't have it right in front of me, so I can't verbatim say it, but somebody asked us who some of our favorite non-grunge guitarists are, or what type of guitarists we're into that aren't in the grunge sphere. And I know we've got a lot of them, and we just not too long ago talked at length about John Frusciante, and he's absolutely up there for me.
Yeah, Frusciante is amazing. I've definitely been listening to a lot of Kurt Vile, and I think that he is an awesome guitar player and musician and brings a lot to songwriting. And I really appreciated the stuff that he does, and a lot of slower pace. It's not like the solo stuff that everybody thinks of. So he's really solid. Prince, gotta love Prince on guitar, man.
Yeah.
He could rip. I mean, geez.
Yeah. Somebody that I want to mention in this conversation is The Edge from U2.
Nice.
He's very polarizing because of his heavy reliance and employment of pedals and effects and everything. But like the ability of a musician to create, a universe within the sound that they're making, I think he does such an incredible job of that. And also, he's such a good example of what simplicity can do. Not necessarily obviously in like the effects that he uses, but like a lot of his patterns and riffs and picking movements and everything are not the most complex things in the world, but they can create a universe nonetheless. And you always talk about with drummers, for example, knowing when to not play, right? And knowing when to create space within the drumming. And I think The Edge does really, really good with that too, with his guitar playing. And I've always been fascinated by just kind of like how he came about making the sound that he does, because I mean, U2, any music fan, you play like what a U2 guitar sounds like. And for any artist to create a sound and expand upon it in such a way that it's recognizable by just about all music fans, I think is really impressive.
Yeah, they have a very special sound that is really unique, and everybody knows it when they hear it. So yeah, I would agree. That's a great choice.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really good question.
Not a question submitted, but I have a question.
All right.
What do you think about the Grateful Dead shows at the Sphere right now and all the videos that are coming out around the Sphere?
It looks exactly like what I would expect a Grateful Dead show at the Sphere to look like, both in terms of the atmosphere and certainly the visuals that they're putting up on the Sphere. I think it's cool. I think the Sphere was built for bands like that, like an all-inclusive music experience. I think it's pretty cool. I'm in on the Sphere. Like a lot of people hate it. I know that the recently departed Steve Albini did absolutely despise the Sphere. And certainly we've chatted with people that kind of don't like it, but I think it's awesome. What do you think about it? Specifically the Dead there.
I think this kind of a music experience wave that we're having is really cool.
Yeah.
We talked with Mark Hopkins about the Pearl Jam release in theaters and what that was like. And this is just one of those immersive experiences that, can't be replicated and offers just an incredible experience that, like I saw them, it was like they were taking off in a hot air balloon and going over, and it looked so freaking sick. Like you're not, oh man, it looks really, really cool. And yeah, it is the perfect band for something like that. And
yeah,
I could see, I would just have a blast if I was there.
Yeah. Well, it's immersive entertainment. It's immersive entertainment, and that's what art is. Tickets are. Yeah, I don't know if I'll ever be able to go to see a show at the Sphere.
Yeah, and that's the sad part. And I don't know what's right or wrong with that, because I know it costs a lot of money, and they lost a lot of money in the beginning. But
right, I'm also not a Vegas guy though, so like for me to get out there, I don't know.
Yeah, the Vegas scene is a little different.
I don't love the Vegas.
Exactly. I don't love the Vegas.
I don't love the Vegas. There's a good question here. It's not related to music, but this is the type of stuff that we love. We love this shit, and we love talking about it. And this comes from our good friend Matt Wilkes, who's been a staunch supporter of the page and very interactive over the years. And Matt wants to know, you're on a first date, and you can pick one person to walk by and say hi, presumably to impress your date. Who would you choose?
Yeah, I love this question. Okay, so I think that You got the, obviously you can go with the whole starstruck, like,
right,
you know, massive, like Dave Grohl type thing. But
yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and say, and this is a little different, but it has reasoning. I'm going to say Bill Murray. Because there's a lot of stories about Bill Murray that he would show up and do random stuff to fans and ask them to take his picture, or be like, you know, really interactive and just be like, no one will ever believe you. And so I don't know. I think Bill Murray, like, I don't know if that would really land with the person that I'm with, but it would be like, it's just one of the, and I feel like that would be really kind of pretty sweet.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, because it's kind of a gamble of an answer sometimes, because a lot of it would just depend on what your date is into. Knows. Yeah, who your date knows, you know. So trying to pick somebody maybe that's universally recognizable, like, I don't know if this would be my pick, but I think it would be hilarious in this situation if you're sitting down at like the coffee shop for a date and like the Pope walks by and it's like, "Hey Chris, how you doing?" Like that would be hilarious. Just like completely unaccompanied, just like running into the coffee shop, and obviously like the Pope has to dress a certain way, and like you really wouldn't be able to mistake the Pope for anybody else. Like I think that would be awesome, and very hilarious. Otherwise, you know, you obviously have like the selfish answers of like, selfishly for you, like who would you want to walk by and say, hey, right. Like Denzel Washington, like that would be pretty fucking sick. Or like Eddie Vedder, if like he were to walk by, like that would be cool too. But yeah. Or you could go, you know, something really, really obscure. You could pick like an obscure athlete that you like, and they're like, oh, like who's that? It's like, oh, that's just so and so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, you know what, I'm locking in. I think I'm picking
the Pope. Is a great answer.
I'm picking the Pope.
The Pope is a great answer.
His Holiness.
Holy shit, that's hilarious.
Literally, indeed. That's
okay.
a good question. I like that one.
So I think we're coming to the end here. Maybe we got like one more question or so, unless you have a bunch that you got lined up.
Yeah, no, I don't have a bunch. So if you wanna, if there's one on the page that you want to pick that we can chat about, and then I have a question for you that's not from the Q&A.
Awesome. Okay, well, I guess, you know, we have to revisit this every so often, but if you could sit down and at a coffee shop and have someone come up and pull up a chair and talk to you about, you know, and you could seek advice about life. Right. This isn't like, you know, asking about their life, but you're going to be talking about your life. Who are you going to get advice from? Who do you want to have that 30-minute coffee date with?
Oh, man. That's tough. I honestly, so this is like a very like boring answer. But I've been on this
Pope.
Pope Francis. You know, I've been on this big kick lately where I've been watching a bunch of old 60 Minutes reports. And I have so much respect for a lot of the correspondents. And I think they're so well read, and like they have such a good understanding of people, and they've obviously learned a lot from the people. But, you know, some of the best ones, you know, from history have passed away. But my guy Steve Croft is still alive. He was a correspondent for like 35 years. Like that would be really interesting. Just with like all of the people that he was able to interview. Obviously you've got the angle of like, I think Eddie Vedder would have good advice. That would be pretty cool, you know, I feel like he would be a good person to chat at a coffee shop with. I don't know. These open-ended questions are always very challenging. Is there anybody that comes to mind for you?
Yeah.
Just like super wise. I'm trying to think.
Yeah, he's passed away, but Anthony Bourdain would be really
oh my
fun.
God, yeah.
Right?
If we could do living or dead, Bourdain would be fucking awesome.
Like Ernest Hemingway, there's like a few those like writers and people that we see quotes about and from, and it's just like incredible. And it would be, Anthony Bourdain would be obviously surreal to have because that's like what he preaches. It's like, go have a Negroni at a random bar and talk to somebody for 25 minutes and have that experience. So
yeah, like the Kerouacs of the world. Somebody who's alive who I would actually think would be an interesting choice would be Michael Imperioli. Most notable, he played Christopher Moltisanti in The Sopranos, but he's a really, really interesting guy. I think he would be great to sit down and chat, and he'd probably have a lot of advice. He's very well read on the world. He's into meditation and Buddhism a little bit, and I think he brings with him a lot of wisdom, so that would be a good choice.
Nice.
Yeah.
What was that final question you had?
So this is a question that I actually posed to a couple of my friends last night when we were just hanging out drinking beers. But
perfect.
Yeah, this is it's a good one. But if you could take any piece of modern technology and bring it back to like colonial era America for the sole purpose of making people think that you're a fucking god, what would you bring back?
Okay, let's see.
So some of the answers that we came up with last night, obviously you have the usual suspects like bringing back like a MacBook or an iPhone, an Apache helicopter maybe, a fully functioning McDonald's restaurant, and you just plant that in like the 1750s. Yeah, and then one of my friends also said just bring back cocaine and get everybody hooked.
That's good. You know what? I think I'm gonna go with the microwave. I mean,
that's a good pick.
That had to have been a freaking mind blowing experience when they're like, wait, we can just heat up food in a minute. Yeah, like fully ready to go. Like
the microwave would be nuts.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the microwave when it first came out, man, when it first dropped, stairs.
Because everybody knows before 1720 there were no stairs.
Holy shit. Yeah, I think the microwave is really solid. Like, obviously, you can bring back a cell phone and it would blow people's minds. But
then again, it's
that
too
wouldn't
small.
Be able to use it. They wouldn't be able to use it. They wouldn't know how to use it.
Do you think you could teach them? You could probably teach them how to use a cell phone.
But not if it's only one, I think. Like,
that's true, yeah. Because the other, like, framing this through like the American Revolution, like I had the deranged thought of like you bring back like 2 fighter planes, like 2 F-22s or something, and like you go back with one and you know how to use one, right? And then you give one to the British and you give them like a week, like no instruction, like here, try and figure it out. And at the end of the week, you do battle with them and see if they're able to get it off the ground or not. And it'd probably be a quick battle, but yeah, I don't know, because it's interesting because like I mean we're in our late 20s now, and like a lot of like the founding fathers and like signers of the Declaration of Independence and great leaders of that era like were kind of around our age, like late 20s, early 30s. Like I always like it's kind of hilarious. Like
that is wild to think about.
Similar age. I loved the microwave. Like I'm seeing my friends again tonight, and I'm gonna report back to them like how awestruck they would be.
I mean, because like I said, you got to think about something that like would actually be applicable to them. Because like they said, the cell phone and the MacBook, like that would just be too much.
Yeah,
they'd be like, we're not. They would say no to it. But the microwave,
yeah, that would be cool. Also, like a thought that I had. You just take, obviously with their instruments and everything, you just bring back like Creedence Clearwater Revival and they just turn it up to 11 and play. Like that would probably kill some of the colonials.
Yeah. That's funny. I saw your post the other day. It was like when John Fogerty found out about the rain and decided he hated it.
Have you ever seen the rain that came out of the sky? Who will stop the rain? That's so good. I mean, people forget John Fogerty may have the greatest voice in rock history.
Yeah, it's definitely a debate that people need to be had. I think the freezer would be really good too. I don't know when the freezer was developed.
Yeah, because I mean they had like ice boxes and like different things like that, but like they definitely didn't have modern freezers. I also think it would be funny to bring back like just like a modern car. Like you just show them like a Ford F-150.
Bring back Four Locos.
Yeah, that's always a classic pick for sure.
Is it?
Yeah, people always say like this would like it would kill like a medieval child, or like bring back like a Doritos Locos taco or something. It would just,
or would it? I mean, they probably drank stuff way
that's
stronger.
The thing. I'm sure it was no match for them.
But the Doritos Locos Taco, that sounds good.
Yeah,
it makes me want to go get one.
Oh, me too, man. I've been having so many little treats, and like I haven't been eating the greatest like the last like couple of weeks, so I really need to dial in. But like once you start having like little treats, like you go get a coffee and pastry like twice in the last week, it's like you want it all the time. And so today I went to the grocery store, and I kind of wanted a little treat, but I was like, you've had enough. So
yeah, not today.
No appeal on the docket today. So that was the only question that I had from my end. We had a lot of great questions. Thanks for everybody for submitting them. I hope we answered your question, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. But this was always fun to answer some questions here.
And we will try to do better next time, as they say.
We will try. So
thank you, everybody, for listening.
Do it. Yeah, man.
I think it wraps it up, and we'll be back better than ever next week. So
yeah, man.
Stay heavy out there. Rock and roll, everybody.
Rock and roll.